Hi, we're live, but not really. Hang on, guys. So I have a new intro that I'm going to play live since we're on Alpha Geek Radio. So you guys want to mute your mics if you can, and then we'll start.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Hang on. Oh, no, I'm not ready. I am not ready. Okay. Almost ready. But not quite. Oh, shoot. There was something that I had to do. Okay. Here we go. Recording the audio. Looks like we're going to be live at Alpha Geek, I think. I believe we are. All right. I'm going to mute my mic and we'll go. Here we go.
You are listening to Alpha Geek Radio.
The following is a production of Galactic Netcasts.
We interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea. A large object traveling at supersonic speed is headed over the North Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States.
This earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
This could be the beginning of the end for the human race. Human beings cower before the onslaught of these unearthly enemies.
It's Thursday, October 15th, 2015. Welcome to the Alien Invasion number 161, a production of Galactic Netcasts. I'm Dave Nelson. Joining me, as always, Mr. Brad Ludwig and Anessa Moyens. Not Mr. Anessa Moyens.
Is there something I don't know, Dave?
No. I wasn't sure. Okay, because I said Mr. Brad Ludwig and Anessa Moyens. What would you call yourself, Ms. or Madame?
Miss Mullins, if you're nice.
If you please.
I don't know. I don't know. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
This is what we get for taking a week off.
Yeah. It usually
Rusty.
goes downhill pretty quick.
Yeah. It doesn't take us very long to get really bad at doing these things. Not that I'm saying not that we were good at it in the first place.
Oh, we're all right.
Yeah, 161 episodes. We had to learn a few lessons along the way, right?
Absolutely, we have.
Okay, well, let's get into it. This is the show where we talk about beings from elsewhere in the universe and their appearances in film, TV, video games, comic books, science, and in real life. The show is sectioned off into three areas: the news, the sightings feature, and our picks for the week. If you would ever want to watch us do the show live, all right, we have a couple of options for you. You can either go to our website, gncasts.com, and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. We'll send out a notification when we're live. You go there, you watch us. You can watch us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Galactic Netcasts. We're also streaming audio on Alpha Geek Radio now. Thank you, Todd, for allowing us on the network. And you can watch us later. As the kids say, archived video. Is that what the kids say? Archived? Is that
being 45, I don't think I exactly know what the kids say anymore. So.
Okay. I'm guessing they probably don't say that.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they say.
Perhaps they call it Kived or Arced or something. Who knows?
It's retro.
It's stored.
No, they say archival. They go all out, right?
If they're hipster.
It would be
Maybe.
ironic. All right, let's get in the news here.
In the news,
News relating to extraterrestrials of some kind, I'm guessing, Anessa.
Yes, you would be correct in your guess.
Okay. Shoot. Go for it.
All right. Well, a woman claims that she was kidnapped, taken to the moon, and raped by alien reptiles.
Oh, no!
I know. While serving in the U.S. Air Force, one woman claims she was abducted multiple times and forced to have countless amounts of sex on the moon. A former member of the U.S. Air Force is making headlines with her claims of being kidnapped, according to the Mirror. Niara Terrella Isley, who worked as an Air Force radar trafficker, says she was abducted by strange reptile-like humanoids with tails and brought to a secret base on the moon, where she was forced to have copious amounts of sex. Copious, that's actually part of the article. And if you haven't figured it out by now, they took her to the moon and they were reptilian. They're really redundant in this article. At the time of the alleged abductions, she was 25 years old. Isley says she was able to come to the conclusion that she was abducted after having her memories uncovered through hypnosis, according to the Daily Mail. She is a mother of 2 and claims that she chose to comply with the wishes of the reptilian aliens for her own safety. I just lost my spot. Sorry. At night, I wasn't allowed to sleep and passed around for more sex, said Isley. I was scared. I knew I had to get back to my daughter, so I was pretty compliant. I just didn't want to do anything that would get me killed. Isley says she was also used for manual labor, being forced to stack mysterious boxes for purposes unknown.
She worked for UPS, it sounds like.
Well, you know,
at least the box part. The rest of it,
Were the aliens dressed in brown?
I don't know, but they were apparently reptilian, so maybe?
I've seen a few UPS people that kind of look reptilian in a way.
I suppose. Not our particular UPS driver. Unless there's a new one in the neighborhood. I don't know. But when I was unemployed and around Christmas time, like the UPS, FedEx, and the U.S. Postal Service were at my door multiple days a week. And I'm pretty sure that they thought that I purchased all the things, but it was actually my mother ordering things from like QVC. So yeah, but there would be boxes of stuff, and none of them looked like a reptile-like person, humanoid.
Okay, just checking.
But you never know. It could be another part of the country. But yeah, like I kind of wonder. Like, with this individual, she says that she remembered this through hypnosis. So the hypnotic regression session that people seem to often have in order to remember alien abductions. I'd kind of like to hear the recording or see the video if there is one.
Yeah.
Just to see how the... What do you call the person who does the hypnotizing?
The hypnotizer?
The hypnotist?
There we go. The hypnotist.
And Brett, right?
I like the hypnotizer, though, because that was my first thought. I'm like, but that's not right.
That sounds like a ray gun or something you see sold on television.
Yeah. And you don't
Order
say
now, the hypnotizer for $19.95.
You don't say hypnotizer.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, I'd kind of like to see the video or hear the audio if it's out there. What I'm kind of wondering if she did indeed experience some sort of sexual trauma, but this is kind of her mind's way of dealing with that and making the humans into non-humans as a way of coping. Because maybe she can't imagine humans doing something that bad, that vile. And so she's replaced these people with reptilians.
Yeah. The only putting somebody under hypnosis thing that I really believe was something that I talked about a couple weeks ago, was the Betty and Barney Hill case, because you had two witnesses with very similar stories saying the same kind of stuff under hypnosis.
Right.
Just one person, I'm iffy.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of wondering if maybe there was something, even if it wasn't like a recent thing. Maybe as a child she was sexually assaulted and somehow her mind has done this weird coping mechanism, which, happens. So yeah, I kind of wonder about this particular story and individual. The moon's interesting backdrop, though. That's an awful long way to take somebody.
Yeah, she sounds like if it's the case what you're talking about, Anessa, if she's replacing reptilians and aliens for a human being that raped her, at least her mind is making it somewhat interesting in the story that's telling her.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better in a way to think of something not human doing such a horrible thing than to think that your fellow man is capable of such things. Maybe.
Yeah, and I think it's a defense mechanism, right? I mean,
I don't know that it's necessarily a defense mechanism. It would be like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, it would be her way of dealing with the trauma.
With the atrocity, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how the mind works, though, right?
It really is.
I'm guessing that's okay. Being hypnotized doesn't mean that you're going to tell the truth, right? If you're traumatized that much, your brain will trick, even being under hypnosis. It will lie as well. If it's working enough to make it.
It also depends on how the questions are being asked. I mean, I talked about it on a previous episode where I had watched Penn and Teller's bullshit episode that was about aliens, and they had talked about the hypnotist, and the wording of the questions tend to lead people on, like rather than saying, "What did you see?" or "Did you see anything?" Like, "What happened next?" or "Did anything happen next?" And instead they were like, "Did you see any light above the vehicle?" They were kind of hinting at where the light should be. It could have been headlights, but because they implanted that idea that the headlights ahead of the vehicle are now over the vehicle, the person's like, "Yes, they were over the car."
She's being very specific, though, in what she said. Stacking boxes.
Well, typically, like afterwards, the people are very specific in their details. Like, "Oh, and then I remembered that, one of them was named Leebanglorp, and his favorite food was, tapioca." So I don't know, like.
What was it named? What?
What did I say?
Bad?
I think it was Leebanglorp.
What?
No, it was something else.
I don't know. No, I just came up with the name. I guess Brad kind of spaced out there for a bit, but he's looking at me like, "What are you saying?" But like when they come out of these hypnotic sessions, they tend to have a lot more details than what they went in with.
Yeah, well, the argument is
they're
that
remembering more.
You're not necessarily remembering, but the brain has an imagination, and if there is a gap, the imagination fills in details. That's one argument against hypnotic regression, is that it's not accurate because the brain does not like having voids in the memory, so it will try to fill in details, and whether it's manufacturing something or inferring something based on the other bits around the memory, wherever the hole is, it will infer and fill in the details.
It's kind of like the whole Mars thing, seeing shapes.
Correct.
Yeah. Not
it's
exactly.
Like one big Rorschach test. Just not with ink blots, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. This comes from the Daily Mail, too. Actually, the Daily Mail...
The Daily Mail?
The Daily Mail and the Mirror. Which one's the least credible of those two newspapers? Isn't one of them like
I
kind of a
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And the person who wrote this article, it came from like hngn.com.
Okay.
And so they specified where their sources came from. So I suppose if I had pulled up the other articles, it probably would have been longer, maybe given a little more info.
Well, okay. There's 3 sources cited in this article. There's the Mirror, there's the Daily Mail, and Metro. Those are
yeah.
UK newspapers / websites. At least they triple check their sources.
They did. I was looking at the mirror.co.uk, and this is interesting because at one point it says Miss Isley told how she worked at the Tapana test range in Nevada, but she said she could recall very little detail about her time there. She claimed security guards raped her in front of an audience after she was jabbed in the neck with the mystery drug while in an underground lair.
Interesting.
So I'm wondering if this is the cause for the reptiles and boxes.
Yeah. Maybe it was like a drug-induced thing.
Yeah.
That sheds some new light on the topic, on the
It
subject.
does. So I recommend people going to mirror.co.uk and looking up this article titled "I was abducted by reptile aliens who raped me on the moon every night."
Okay. Thank you, Nessa. Let's move on.
It's a really depressing
I know.
article.
Yeah, a little bit.
I thought it would be a fun thing, but it's actually kind of depressing when you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's one of those.
A little bizarre, but depressing.
Okay.
So.
All right. Before we get on to the next story, I want to recommend or ask that if you have any feedback on the stories that we're talking about, either on this episode or on any episode of the Alien Invasion, we have our ways that you can get in contact with us. galacticnetcasts@gmail.com is our email address. You can call our voicemail number. That is area code 805-328-3966, or leave a voice message directly on our website, gncasts.com. And while you're there, don't forget you can click on subscribe to the podcast, or check out all the other things on the website, including our other podcasts. For example, Brad's Adventure Party podcast.
Woohoo!
All at gncasts.com. Okay, so cast and crew of Hunters discusses their series at New York Comic Con. New York Comic Con took place over the weekend, or as they say in Canada, on the weekend. Still getting used to saying that or hearing that. Sci-Fi's upcoming series, Hunters, will show us what the world would be like if aliens were terrorists. Based on the novel Alien Hunter by Whitley Strieber. We've talked about him before. He's very well known in the alien circles. The story follows an FBI agent who's trying to piece together his wife's sudden disappearance. She was taken by a group of aliens known as Hunters, and meanwhile, a secret government unit called the Exo-Terrorism Unit, or ETU, recruits the agent to their ranks. Over the weekend at New York Comic Con, the people behind the series discussed the show. The team really wanted to bring a sense of realism to the show by using practical special effects, along with new techniques and innovations, instead of solely relying on CGI. Special effects guru Justin Dix said, it's D-I-X, by the way, this kind...
It sounds the same, Dave.
This is kind of not your typical sci-fi show. It definitely has horror elements, which is great because it's something you haven't seen before. A little bit gritty and gruesome. Executive producer Natalie Chaydez explained that at the heart of it, Hunters is an allegory for terrorism. It does what science fiction does best, which is take on social issues, cultural issues, and really explore it. The first trailer for Hunters, which is currently being filmed in Australia, was also released at New York Comic Con, and you can check it out on our website at gncasts.com. And of course, we'll have the link to the whole story in the show notes as well. Are you guys excited to see this show?
I'm interested in seeing the show.
I
I
guess
don't know that I would say that I'm excited.
Yeah, excited.
I'd like to
Maybe
see
not the best
episodes.
word. Are you interested in viewing it?
I would like to give it a watch. And yeah, like I'd like to see how the first episode goes and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's smart. That's very smart.
As I usually do with TV shows. Brad seems less interested.
I'm less enthused.
Well, I'm interested because it is based on this Whitley Strieber book, which is a pretty good seller. It's very popular among a certain kind of people.
I was gonna say, not all popular books are good. Look at Twilight.
50 Shades of Grey.
Which, by the way, is a Twilight fan fiction. It began as
It
Twilight.
is a Twilight fan fiction, and then they've like re-released Twilight, but with like they've swapped the genders of the characters or something. Not a clue.
Weird. Okay. Yeah, I saw the trailer. It looks good. I'm curious. I'm interested. Although it's really hard to cram in any more shows into our schedule. It's
Oh yeah. Wait, what?
what did you think that meant?
I just heard cram it in there. So, or cram it in.
Cram it in there. That's not what I said at all.
That's close enough.
Eh.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's my girlfriend.
I'm classy.
Hunters is the name of the show, and it is being released sometime next year. There's no definitive date yet, but I think it's spring 2016. Sci-fi bringing it. They've got a lot of great shows. I'm looking forward to The Expanse, and I'm looking forward to what's the one that was based on that book from the 60s written by
Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke.
Yes, Childhood's End is also coming up on the sci-fi schedule.
Which is a pretty good read. I believe I use that as a recommendation, and I still recommend it.
Gail Ann Hurd's also connected to this show, and we know her from, among other things, The Walking Dead.
Oh, see, there you go.
That might be a reason. If you're on the fence, if you like The Walking Dead, you may enjoy this show as well.
Yeah, Brad's starting to get sucked into The Walking Dead a little bit because I've gone back to rewatch. I only got to watch like the first half of the 5th season, and then I didn't finish it. So I've gone back from the beginning of season 5 and have started watching it. Brad's like, I want to know what happens next.
Well, good.
So.
Good for you. And then you got Fear the Walking Dead after that, which I recommend. It's very good.
I do actually like that. It's a slower pace, at least for now. But I do actually like it so far. I think I'm an episode behind or 2, but
They also have a mini series or a web series. It's 1-minute episodes. It's like
they've been doing the web series for a while now. I've seen, I think, a couple of the web series. One of them was like the story behind the torso zombie in episode 1.
This one is, it takes place in the Fear the Walking Dead universe.
Oh, okay.
During the outbreak, and it's what happens when the outbreak starts on a plane. So it's basically zombies on a plane.
Oh my god.
And one person will survive it and actually get to be a regular cast member on Fear the Walking Dead. And there was a scene during Fear the Walking Dead where you saw a plane crashing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think
Like they were in...
that's supposed to be the plane.
Ah. See, now I know this isn't alien related, but I'm hoping that kid at the high school, when
I forgot about him.
I can't think of her name, the counselor went back to grab medicine and stuff for her kid.
Yeah.
For Nick. That kid that wanted his knife back. I'm kind of hoping we see him again.
Yeah, I got a feeling he'll pop up somewhere.
Because he knew what was going down.
Yeah, long before a lot of other people.
Yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
onwards.
That's it. We will have the link to that. You can like I said, you can check out the trailer for hunters on our website, gncasts.com. Before we get into Brad's story, I want to remind you guys that you can leave us feedback on any episode on iTunes. That helps us get more listeners, more subscribers. In fact, you don't even have to leave us feedback. Just give us 5 stars on iTunes and give us a thumbs up on Stitcher. It helps us get more listeners, more subscribers, because it shows that you enjoy the podcast. So please do that next time. If you leave feedback on iTunes, we will read it. So if you want to say something awesome and you want to hear your words spoken by, well, probably me, because I usually do the feedback section, right? Unless
you specify otherwise, listener. You're like, I want Brad to read my feedback.
Yeah, so include that in your feedback. Say in Brad's voice, using
in his old man voice.
Old man voice. Perfect. Maybe leave some feedback on iTunes and
Dear Penthouse, I never thought this would happen to me. Oh wait, that's another show I do. Never mind.
All right, Brad, you got the final story in the news. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm up?
Yes.
Oh! This...
Sorry.
Bam! All right. So this story really is very interesting because this is, I think, one of the first times that I've seen like mainstream science and scientists actually talk about aliens in a serious fashion.
And it's all over the place right now. This story, you'll find it amongst your news, probably.
This particular story comes to us from popsci.com. And the title of the article is, Have we detected megastructures built by aliens around a distant star, or just a cloud of comets? Scientists want to investigate further. And this actually ties into an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation that we should talk about just a little bit.
Yeah, Dice.
Yep. So the Kepler Space Telescope's job is to find faraway planets that could potentially support life. But as The Atlantic reports, scientists are exploring the possibility that the telescope may have detected something even more exciting. For 4 years, the telescope stared at a patch of sky, waiting for each star to darken, which would indicate an exoplanet passing in front of it. The telescope monitored more than 150,000 stars, but one star in particular stood out to citizen scientists who were helping to analyze the Kepler data, KIC 8462852. There won't be a quiz later, you don't have to memorize that. Located 1,480 light years away. When the planet passes in front of a star, the star dims only for a few hours or days, and on a regular basis, every 365 days, for example. But at irregular intervals, the star darkens as much as 20%, and it stays dark for anywhere between 5 to 80 days. What could cause the weird light fluctuations? The researchers who discovered the behavior call it bizarre. In a recent paper, researchers have ruled out the possibility of faulty data or telescope jostling. Something appears to be blocking out the light, but it's not a planet, and the star is too old to be surrounded by the rings of debris that tend to circle around young stars. Neither do the scientists think that it could be caused by a recent collision. That leaves just a few hypotheses. One is a cloud of comets that got pulled into orbit by a migrating star. If the comets are breaking up as they revolve around the star, that could cause the irregular pattern of dimming. The paper notes that this is the most promising explanation. There is one other hypothesis, however. Aliens should always be the very last hypothesis you consider, Penn State astronomer Jason Wright told The Atlantic, but this looked like something you would expect an alien civilization to build. Wright and many other astronomers have postulated that we could detect advanced civilizations through their technology. The idea is that as alien civilizations become highly advanced, they'll need more and more energy to fuel their high-tech lifestyles. Perhaps the aliens would position solar collectors directly around a star, filling the star's orbit until some of the light is blocked. These hypothetical alien megastructures are called Dyson swarms or spheres.
Yeah.
Right? Go
I
ahead.
think Scotty's got to be out there. If this is a Dyson sphere, then Scotty's going to be.
He's in a perpetual loop in the teleporter buffer.
Yeah.
Wright told Popular Science that although the comet explanation is the best hypothesis so far, it's a bit contrived. It's hard to imagine how comets could block that much light. You would need a huge number of them, and we must have caught them at a time when they happened to be all clumped up together. That said, he acknowledges that Kepler studied 150,000 stars for several years, so it's possible the telescope just witnessed a very rare natural event. To find out what's behind the star's mysterious dimming behavior, Wright and his colleagues want to listen in with the Green Bank telescope in West Virginia. They're hoping to spend a few hours listening for modulated radio waves that would indicate the presence of intelligent life forms. If we hear narrowband modulated radio emissions coming from that star, I can't imagine any other explanation, says Wright. Nature doesn't do that. It would have to be artificial. If the team detects an interesting radio signature around the star, the next step would be try to tune in with the Very Large Array in New Mexico. While the Green Bank telescope can reveal whether special radio waves are coming from a general area of the star, the VLA would tell the astronomers whether the waves are coming from the star itself. It's the best SETI target I've ever seen or heard of, says Wright. And again, this comes from popsci.com, and this is really freaking exciting.
I agree with you, Brad. Especially, they really, I mean, like you said, it's being reported on legitimate news sources, not just like I'm trying to think of a kind
Daily
of
Mail.
yeah, exactly. There's also this website that it's less of a website and more like a collector of news. It's called beforeitsnews.com, and you'll find some pretty out there stuff on there. So it's not like on one of those websites. Legitimate, like I'm sure Time Magazine probably did some kind of blog post about this.
Possibly. Yeah, I haven't seen anything from Time.
Probably not in the actual magazine, but they tend to sometimes blog about things that you wouldn't think Time Magazine would blog about. Like you wouldn't typically see in their magazine. So it's a possibility that they actually covered this as well. No, I was looking up while you were speaking. I was trying to find the exact episode that they covered the Dyson sphere. It's the one with James Doohan, who reprises his role as Scotty. It's called Relics, and I want to say it's season 4, I think.
I think so too. And it was my dream episode because I love Scotty, and it was so cool to see Scotty and Geordi kind of butt heads with older technology versus newer, and
plus it was the first time they recreated the original Enterprise bridge.
Yes.
In the holodeck.
Yes.
Which they did later on, not just the bridge, but they did the complete ship in that Deep Space Nine episode.
Oh wow!
Tribbles and tribulations, or what?
Oh, God,
tribulate. I forget.
That episode was amazing.
Season 6, episode 4, by the way. So what do you think this could be? What are the chances? Do you think that this could be an actual structure built by aliens? Percentage-wise, non-scientist mind of you guys.
I'd give it 30%.
Okay, that's not bad. It's not good.
I'm very hopeful, but that said, that hope might be clouding my judgment and my numbers too. So, yeah.
Vanessa, How do you feel about this? What do you give it?
5%.
Wow. Okay, so you're even more of a skeptic on this.
Well, I mean, there's just so much stuff in space. And I know they're watching the occultation of this object, like it's being blocked. Its light is being blocked. But I mean, what if it's just a couple of small asteroids, maybe planetesimals that are trailing somewhere along in the orbit? So it's a little irregular. Maybe they're not really traveling in the same plane, different planes. So I don't know. Like maybe it would be. I don't know if that's possible. Like but I'm just thinking, like what if it's traveling in? Well, I guess it is because Pluto travels at an angle. So what if there's a couple of smaller objects or a couple of objects maybe similar in size that are traveling at that angle, but in a way to where it appears that it's irregularly passing by?
Maybe, but it would have to be so huge to block.
Not necessarily.
It's blocking 20% for an extended period of time.
It's the universe's largest asteroid.
What if it happens to be like 2 planets that happen to be...
Well, that could be too.
Like they happen to line up at that particular time, but maybe not at other times. Maybe one's going faster than the other. So they only meet up like every other time. So it wouldn't be a regular thing.
There's so many things that we don't know about this. We really have to go there to find out for sure.
All right, I'm going to pack my bags.
Yeah.
All right.
It's only 1,480 light years away.
Yeah. Be there in no time. Take pictures.
Oh, yeah. Follow me on Instagram.
On Facebook.
On Facebook. There it is.
All right. Thank you, Brad. If you have comments, listeners, on these stories, let us know by emailing galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. What do you think the chances are this is an alien structure? We would love to know. You can call our voicemail and voice your opinion as well. 805-372... What? No, hang on. 805...
328-3966.
Thank you. 805-328-3966.
I'd also like to point out that Dyson spheres, if I recall correctly, make an appearance in Larry Niven's Ringworld.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
People have written papers about his book.
Although I think his Dyson sphere was a little bit different than the one that was seen on The Next Generation.
Probably.
It was more of a flat thing without like walls. The one on Next Generation was like an actual sphere. There was no openness at all. It was a complete sphere around that star in that.
Yeah,
sphere.
his was more of like a belt.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is actually really interesting. But no, overall, I think I use this as a recommendation too. I really liked Ringworld. I just didn't like how they had the female character. She was just kind of there.
Well, What was it, 1960s it was written?
Yeah,
Probably.
but I think that was kind of a common complaint for his writing, is his female characters lacked depth. So. Hey,
Anessa, are you ready for the sightings?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
Please identify the craft you witnessed.
A black, triangular, three-dimensional shape, huge, just flying, hovering in it.
Shaped like almost like between an egg and like a teardrop.
2 long cylinder objects flying over me.
We had a zone. I could see the occupants in it.
Appeared to be rotating, and it was on circular and disc shape, and it hovered for maybe about 5 minutes.
This is our sightings section, where we talk about an incident where a human being, not most likely, but maybe saw an object of extraterrestrial origin. So you've got a pretty big one this week.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. Sorry. All right. So this actually came up as a news story when I was surfing the interwebs. And this one actually kind of surprised me. Not so much the images, which there are plenty of on this article, but it was just more of Scott Waring's response because we talk about him fairly often, not like all the time, but in a lot of the articles that we pull up, especially the ones that have to do with like NASA footage and images of Mars and the moon and wherever else, he's one of the first ones to be like, aliens! It's evidence that there was an alien civilization. So anyway, his response was kind of surprising to me. So biggest, best UFO photograph ever? Maybe? Witnesses snap Independence Day like mothership. Shocked eyewitnesses claim to have seen a massive circular object hovering above them which looks like the craft from the blockbuster movie. Witness, Lincoln Leba, said the huge disk appeared from within a cloud at the same time as a rainbow appeared, before producing these amazing images. And again, if you go to the article, there's some images, and I don't know that if they're real, then yes, they are amazing. But if they're not, then not so much. So one of the boys is seen in one of these images. It has a boy that's pointing at an object in a number of in one of the pictures, and basically what you see is, I believe in India, you've got like houses, you've got street poles, and then you've got clouds. And then you see this faint, what looks to be semi-transparent, disc-shaped object in the sky. So you can see the clouds through, like, on the other side. And there are multiple images of this. Some are, like, over water, and some are other areas of town.
Wow. I'm looking at them right now. I'm impressed.
And I mean, like I said, if they are real, then wow, that's really impressive. But to me, it looks like the same image is just photoshopped in each photograph. Like they took this flying disc, or like this disc-shaped object, and just kind of changed its opacity and plopped it into the image.
Yeah, the lights, like the shading of it's not different at all. It's the same.
It's like the same angle, and that's the thing that bothers me. It's like the same angle in every image, and I mean, I've never been to India, but I imagine it's not entirely flat. And I imagine not everyone taking these pictures are the same distance from the object. And so I would think that there would be some difference in appearance to this object, like maybe it's more overhead in some images than others, and it to me looks like the same base image that they just overlaid on photographs.
And the last picture of the mother and what looks like two kids,
mm-hmm.
They don't see it. Like they're not.
No, they're just kind of hanging out. One's drinking from a sippy cup. Like, whatever. There could be a big UFO behind me. I wouldn't know it.
It's an impressive. If it's photoshopped, that's some pretty impressive photoshopping.
Yeah. So let's see. The article continues to say that an identical mothership appeared from the clouds in pictures said to have been taken in Brazil, and I think later on it mentions Taiwan. So alien researcher Scott C. Waring of UFO Sightings Daily also suggested it could have been a photoshopped fake. Which, like I said, to me, that was kind of a surprising statement, because I feel like a lot of what we talk about, he says it's alien. Even though, like, I don't necessarily agree with him that it's always UFO or extraterrestrial. So he says...
That looks like the UFO from Independence Day.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
It says, the disc above... I lost the spot. Sorry. Okay. He says, now it is difficult from just photos to determine if this is real. However, I and my wife have seen such white UFO, or such a white UFO about 7 years ago in Taiwan over the road, but with no camera, it broke my heart. I didn't see puffs of smoke or white clouds anywhere, only a disk. The disk above has white spots that look like windows or designs on it. That is the only thing that makes me a bit suspicious about it. Despite evidence to the contrary, some UFO believers were happy to take the sighting as genuine. Tracy Walter Hensley said, "Wow, the veil is really coming down. Such a beautiful shot. India is quite familiar with spacecraft, having experienced such for thousands of years." While Kichu posted online, "Looks genuine, man. Being an Indian, feel proud that it visited us. We should fear or feel happy. Multiple emotions." he feels, or she, they feel all the things about this UFO.
All the feels?
All the feels.
As the kids say.
Oh, those kids.
And their sayings. So, but some people are saying that it's lenticular clouds that form in the troposphere as humid air passes over which which is cooler and they don't move. But, you know, other witnesses say that the disk looks solid. It doesn't look like a cloud. I say Photoshop.
I'm going to say Photoshop as well.
Yeah, and really the only reason why is because in these images, the angle does not change. And I would think, depending on where you are, like I said, the disk would appear a little different in each one, and there's not really a difference in any of them. And you would think at some point someone underneath the disk would be like, "Hey, the sun's being blocked. Let me look up into the sky and see what's up. Okay, let me grab my cell phone."
That's the other thing. There's no like discernible shadowing from it.
Yeah. There really isn't. And so, yeah, I'm saying Photoshopped. I'm going to go with Mr. Waring on this one.
Okay. All right. Is that all you have to say about this?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to our picks for the week. These are things that we have watched, listened to, read, played, eaten. Have we? Yeah, we've had recommend picks before. Didn't I pick the things that Daryl sent to me from the UK? Daryl John.
I think so. Okay. And then Brad's used a restaurant before.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So
yep,
basically, anything
Area 51 in Fargo.
Anything alien related that we have experienced over the last week. This is the section for that. Brad, do you not have a pick this week?
I really no. I had a weird week and didn't really have time to consume anything in that fashion. So
that's cool. I understand. Nothing. You don't have to. This is not required.
Well, it should be, and I feel bad that I don't have anything ready. But
pish posh. That's
what. Well, he can join me in my conversation about my pick because he watched about half of it or a little over half.
Yeah, you can make it a joint pick.
There you go.
So.
Okay, I'm going to do mine first, then you guys can jump in with yours. Mine is a movie that I have a feeling that we have had this as a pick before, like maybe Nessa did at one time. Does this seem familiar to you, Nessa? Warning from Space?
It sounds familiar. I need to look at the images from it. Hang on.
Okay.
Or you can keep talking about it, and I will look for images.
I will expand on the description of it. It is a movie from 1956. It's actually the first Japanese color sci-fi film, and it seemed like the predecessor to like something Godzilla-ish in a way. But they all seem to kind of have that vibe. All those sci-fi monster alien invasion type movies from Japan between the 1950s and probably mid-1970s. So here is a brief description of the film. It is, okay, UFOs are seen around Tokyo because they look like giant starfish. The aliens cannot approach us without creating panic. And when I say giant starfish, these are people in suits who have their arms kind of in a perpendicular. Is that perpendicular when you have your arms kind of jutting out from your body, kind of at an angle? That's perpendicular, right?
Well, that's parallel, I think.
Well, no, not straight, but kind of up at an angle towards the sky. But not,
yeah, perpendicular. Yes. Okay.
So it looks like people are in some kind of fabric, right? With their head as the main starfish kind of angle jutting straight up, and then their hands are the other two angles jutting from the on either side of that. That's what the starfish looks like. They didn't, and they look like fabric. Even they didn't even try to make them look like scaly or any kind of other texture-ish things. But hey, this is 1956, right? So, hence, one of them sacrifices itself and takes the form of a popular female singer. It/she warns mankind that a meteor will crash on Earth. While the approaching meteor causes hotter and hotter weather, mankind runs and builds the last chance anti-meteor weapon. Now, this is, if you've ever seen a Japanese movie, like I said, from the 1950s through the 1960s, you can picture this movie because it has all those tropes.
Yeah, I was looking at the images and I haven't seen it, but I feel like it's something that I should see.
Yeah, very much right up your alley, Anessa. I think you would really enjoy it. What kills me about these, and it's free, by the way, on archive.org. What kills me about these movies is they go, whoever does the dubbing, the English dubbing, they'll either have somebody with a great non-accented English accent or English, right? And then they'll have somebody with a total over-the-top, like stereotypical, very racist sounding Japanese accent. It's very odd that way. What I was impressed with was seeing Japan in 1956, the way it looked, because it very much still had a post-World War II 1940s look, where they had big bands playing. They had their women in kimonos. Is it kimonos?
Kimono?
Kimonos.
Komodo is the dragon. Yeah. I'd like to see them wear that.
A little weird.
Yeah. But no, it was cool to see that country in that era still recovering from, being the victim of their regime during World War II. And it's interesting also to because there was a nuclear element as well. And there seems to always be a nuclear element in every single one of the Japanese released sci-fi films, be it one of these type or a Godzilla or one of those other monster films from the 1960s. So it seems like that fear, they took and ran with it, right? They used it in a positive way, I want to say. Maybe, I don't know. They didn't seem like they were scared of anything nuclear, and they included it in a lot of their media. And this is no exception. There was they had to launch the hydrogen and nuclear weapons towards the asteroid to deflect it away from the Earth. And the aliens lived on a planet that was directly opposite the Earth, so whenever you would never see this other planet because
so it was like a Planet X.
Yeah. the planet of the starfish people.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you want some cheese, if you want a fun cheesy movie to watch, I recommend Warning from Space from 1956. It's free on archive.org. We'll have the link in the show notes. You can check it out for yourself. All right. Anessa and Brad, you've got a joint pick. What is it?
A Field Full of Secrets.
Ooh, a field full.
A field full. Not like half full or a lot. It's a field.
Field day of secrets.
Yes. According to the Amazon summary, long story short, in the summer of 2008, two friends stepped into a crop circle for the first time. One emerged relatively unaffected. The other decided to try and build a UFO with the help from an eccentric person. which in the description they say an eccentric transsexual, which I don't really think she was all that eccentric.
Okay.
Kind of, maybe?
Yeah.
A little bit. She was quirky.
She was very quirky.
So, anyway, so yeah, you have these two guys, and I know one of them at least is an expat of Britain. So he's grew up in Britain, moved to the States, where he lives in California and is a filmmaker, camera person. And he's had this interest about crop circles, and he wanted to go back to the UK to search for them. And so his friend was like, fine, we'll go to the UK, we will check out these crop circles, and maybe he'll get over it, and we can move on. And so they go to the UK, check out these crop circles, and then the guy becomes even more obsessed. So his friend was like, that didn't work, that got even worse. And it's a documentary, so it films their various visits to the UK. They do talk to crop circle experts, and even Nick Pope is in this documentary. And we've mentioned him before. He's like
not in.
I know he's in a lot of documentaries, but he's talking about these crop circles. And his opinion was that they were man-made, not of extraterrestrial origins. And but yeah, they have various crop circle experts, and they also have an individual there who went to the UK initially with kind of the same intent. They were really fascinated with these crop circles. They wanted to try to find or witness the creation of a crop circle by extraterrestrials. And eventually he became what they call a hoaxer. So he creates crop circles. And, he's looking at them. He's like, I could totally do that. Like that's man-made. So he goes around and creates crop circles. But yeah, it goes from that to at one point during the research, they try to camp out and try to witness the creation of crop circles, and they spend a couple of weeks or so out there, just each night waiting and waiting and waiting. And at some point, they kind of give up, and they come back to the States. And the guy is just looking at images of crop circles, hoping to find some sort of message. And he doesn't find one in the crop circles, but he ends up getting a message from someone here on Earth, which is the eccentric person, the quirky person that we mentioned. And she sends him these. Basically what she did was she took the crop circles and rendered them into a 3D image. And then they tried to create a small model of a UFO based off of these images.
Yeah, it's something else, and they based it off of 11 different crop circles. So I'm wondering how you choose the appropriate 11 to.
Well, that was the other thing that I wondered, because I mean, how do you know which ones are actually real and which ones are not, if any of them are real?
Yeah.
And so you're basing this potentially off of other people's creation. And I know at one point they were examining the corn, the crop. And apparently whenever a UFO or extraterrestrial makes these crop circles, the joints of the plants will, when bent, they'll like explode or something, or like when they're knocked down, it'll explode. But if it's done with the rope and a board, then they just bend in weird places. But I kind of think that at some point, if you're flattening something out, it's going to end up breaking at a joint. And if you bend a plant at the joint, I would think that it would create that little burst that they keep describing as being evidence of extraterrestrials having made the crop circles. And the guy had some really lengthy explanation as to how it was created. And I did like the documentary because it does add some humor, and it does point out the fact that the guy who is obsessed with learning more about these crop circles is by far not an expert. And so when he's trying to explain something scientifically, they're like, here's so-and-so. He is not an expert about this, and as far as we are aware. So they're basically telling you that this person is just giving their thoughts, their theories, their opinions, but none of them can be backed by scientific evidence.
But you know what? That really goes along with the way the world is these days. Anyways, people
Right.
don't want expert opinions anymore or science.
But it was nice that they had experts that came in, not just crop circle experts, but they had an older gentleman who was a botanist, if I recall correctly. And they had, of course, they had Nick Pope, which I guess is kind of an expert at this point, who said, no, I believe that these are man-made. And I like that they had the differing opinions. It wasn't just all, yes, these are made by aliens, and we're not going to talk to anyone who says otherwise. So it was nice that they had as much of a balance as they could, of course, still leaning towards these crop circles are from extraterrestrials. But I did appreciate their attempts in saying, hey, here's some people that do not necessarily agree with my opinion, and that's cool.
Where did you watch this?
I watched it on Amazon Prime, I believe.
It's probably not on Netflix then, right?
I have not checked, honestly.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if you happen to have Amazon Prime, you can check it out there. If you don't have Amazon Prime, I'm sure you could rent it for $5.
Yeah, and if you want to rent it, you can rent it through our picks page on the website. Go to gncasts.com. We'll put it up on the picks page. And that way, if you go through Amazon, if you rent it through Amazon, because it's all through Amazon, we get a very, very, very small percentage. We make a little something for you doing that, and that helps out the network.
So, but yeah, I would recommend giving it a watch. I mean, I've seen some documentaries that were really, really horrible. This was not really, really horrible.
All right.
So I thought it was interesting to watch these guys go on an adventure and see what they discovered or didn't discover. So,
okay. Cool. Our picks this week. Thank you, Inessa. A Field of Secrets and Warning from Space. Okay, you can find out more about this podcast at gncasts.com. You can leave us feedback there by clicking the leave a voice message or call 805-328-3966. Email galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. You can find us on Stitcher, on iTunes. We also have the subscription page at gncasts.com. All the links are there. And don't forget, you can also become a member of the Galactic Collective. Be part of a very small group of people making the decisions for this network. In fact, we've got a pretty good incentive up on, well, basically it's our fancy way of saying that you can contribute to our Patreon account. So go to gncasts.com and click on Become a Member of the Galactic Collective, and you'll get all the details and all the fun stuff right there. Okay, final thoughts before we get out of here. Brad.
I'm very curious as to whether or not they'll hear radio waves that come not from the star on that previous story.
Oh, did you see that big antenna that the Chinese are...
I know the Chinese radio telescope that they're building is ridiculously huge.
Yeah, maybe they'll get... Why do the Chinese make everything so much bigger? It's like...
because they can.
Okay. Inessa, what's your final thought?
I was thinking of my default because they have a small ego. But I say that because, you know, like, anytime that I come across someone on the roadway or if they're driving by the house and they've got like this giant pickup truck and they rev up the engine, or they have like this little car that they've modified the exhaust on to like sound louder than it should, I always say it's because they have a small ego.
Or small something else.
Or small something else. So either way, they need an ego boost of some sort.
Okay. And that was a combined final thought then.
That was a combined final thought because that's where my mind went.
Brad started it, and you brought up the rear.
Oh yeah.
Shut up. This episode of The Alien Invasion, a production of Galactic Netcast. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye, Dave.